NASCAR returned to the tricky triangle today as Denny Hamlin was able to make history and get his 7th win at Pocono, now the most of all time, surpassing Jeff Gordon. But earlier in the race, he had a few issues, included a spin and a bit of contact with a certain driver. So we have a lot to talk about after Pocono. Hey guys, NASCAR Mobile 48 back again. We're back to another episode of NRR. In today's video, we will be reviewing the 2022 M&M's Appreciation 400 from the Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle. What turn 4? Also, they made a big announcement about what turn 4, and apparently it's an NFT. Don't get me started with that. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about after this race. Hamlin gets the win. There's a bit of drama for him trying to get that win. We had some nice moving and dicing throughout the rest of the field, some good positioning, and also another bit of a playoff drama that's starting to extend their gap. So without further ado, basically we're going to review our top 10, then we're going to rate the race. We're going to talk about our biggest story of the race, drivers of the day, and end it off looking at the playoff grid coming out of this race and going into the Indy Road Course next Sunday, also the day before my birthday. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and dive on into this review. Finishing in first was Denny Hamlin. Like I said earlier before, Denny Hamlin wins at Pocono today to get his 7th win at Pocono, which is now most of all time, beating Jeff Gordon's record. At first, he had the tie with Jeff Gordon, which was 6. 3rd win of the season. He now ties Chase Elliott with the most wins of 2022. 49th career win. He ties Tony Stewart at number 49, and he's just 1 away from 50 from tying Junior Johnson, and 2 wins away from officially being the number 1 driver in NASCAR history to have the most wins in the Cup Series, but no championship. So really cool for Denny Hamlin moving forward. But in my opinion, I feel like this was definitely his most earned win. I mean, out of all his race wins this season, Charlotte was probably least earned, because I know he won the pole, but he ran like 10th the entire race and then showed up late in the end where all the chaos was happening with Larson and Briscoe and then Dillon and Chastain and all that stuff. And heck, to be honest, this is Hamlin's first top 5 since he won at Charlotte. His first top 5. So, hey, just saying there. But Hamlin had a pretty weird day. I mean, literally on the first lap, he tagged the wall pretty early, so that wasn't good. He said the car was killed, but it was fine. And then later in stage 2, Hamlin was on the apron and in turn 2, and he spun out. So that was also a bit of an issue. But Hamlin was starting to build back up from that, and he was making his way through the field. So he definitely had one of the fastest cars, because he literally qualified 2nd. But then at one point on one restart, Hamlin squeezed Chastain into the wall. But we'll get into all of that later and stuff. So that happened. Hamlin just was straightforward, took it off, beat Kyle Busch straight up, and was able to get the win. So congrats to Denny Hamlin and the 11 team. It was really cool to see him and his daughter celebrate that win, because that's where it all started for Denny Hamlin. Got his first 2 career wins at Pocono back in 2006. So really cool for Hamlin to come back and officially say, I own this track. He officially now has the most wins at the track. Finishing in runner-up was Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, runner-up position has just been it for Kyle Busch this year. Literally, this is the 3rd time he's finished runner-up. I mean, he finished runner-up today to Denny Hamlin, finished runner-up to Joey Logano at St. Louis, and finished runner-up to Denny Hamlin back in the Coke 600. Also, this is Kyle Busch's first top 5 finish since that race in St. Louis. So it shows that they're starting to gain some speed and stuff, because like Kyle Busch, this was his last win. This is where he got his last win of 2021. He was definitely one of the strongest cars here last year and this year. Just pit strategy, once again, just it comes down to that. But before we discuss that for Kyle Busch, let's talk about his day. I mean, he was leading the race after that early incident with Hamlin, and then on the next restart, Kyle Busch literally went up the track in turn 1. Larson took the lead away, and Larson won the stage. But Kyle Busch went back out in front, and he was able to win stage 2. Chastain and Kyle Busch were starting to have their battle in stage 3, and then Chastain just beat Kyle Busch straight up off the pit road, and I think that's where Kyle Busch started to fall off a bit of him potentially winning that race. Because once that happened, I just think back to Nashville, where Kyle Busch potentially getting the win, but pit stops is what cost him. Because Nashville, it wasn't the pit stop itself, it was the strategy. You decide to go take 4 tires, restart like P15 with 5 laps to go. At Nashville, where it's really hard to pass, you're not going to go up and compete for the win and stuff. So I thought that was dumb. And now this time, it wasn't really the pit strategy. Of course you had to pit. It was the fact that the pit crew made a mistake and they were just slower. Chastain it was either Kyle Busch's team was slower or Chastain's team just literally beat them straight up and stuff. So it does suck for Kyle Busch's races have to be decided off of pit stops, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So I do kind of feel bad for Kyle Busch, but it is what it is. It was still a decent result. We'll see how he does at the Indy Road Course race next weekend. I mean, I'm pretty sure he spun out there last year, but anything can change. But if we know Toyota, they weren't really good at the road courses this year, so it's up for grabs. Finishing in P3 was Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's summer streak is still going on. Literally, like I said in the last couple of videos, since Sonoma, Elliott has been on a hot streak of top 10 finishes. Well, actually, since Nashville, Elliott has been on a hot streak of top 5 finishes. It's just been really good for Chase Elliott. Literally, these last 6 races, 8th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Elliott, I don't know what to say. Literally an average finish of 2.8. So Elliott's hot streak is still going up. Hopefully it can continue going into the Indy Road Course race. He almost won the last road course race, but got beat straight up by Tyler Reddick. Let's see if things will change. But Chase Elliott's race was pretty well. Him and Kyle Larson were the top Chevys to start out, and then at one point Chase Elliott was like back in like the top 15. So he had some issues early in the race, but he started to climb his way back through the field, especially in the last like couple restarts, and was able to overtake and get a nice solid 3rd place finish. So decent result for Chase Elliott in the 9 team. Pocono, in my opinion, is not really one of his best tracks. I remember like in 2016 in like his rookie season, one of the Pocono races, I think it was the second one, Chase Elliott literally spun out at one point. So it hasn't really been the best racetrack for him, but a nice result for the 9 team. Finishing in 4th was Tyler Reddick. Another solid finish for Reddick in the 8 car. It just shows how much talent he has, and he's really overperforming in the equipment he has. I mean, what a solid result for him, and you can't really compare it with Austin Dillon, but a decent result for them. It didn't really start off their way because they qualified 16th in this race and only made it up to, you know, a certain amount in the stages, like I think like 12th or 13th, just a little outside the top 10. But then late in the race, just like Chase Elliott, he was really on a roll. I think Tyler Reddick was arguably the best Chevrolet at the end of this race. Just wasn't enough, and at one point he almost wrecked the car in turn 3 like a lot of drivers did, but he saved it, able to get a nice solid top 5 finish. So really good for the number 8 team, just trying to build some momentum before the playoffs start. We're now headed back to a road course. Last driver who won on a road course was Reddick. Can he back that up at Indianapolis? We will have to wait and see. And rounding out the top 5 and 5th was Daniel Schwartz. Honestly, I am not shocked that Schwartz got a top 5 finish because if we go back and think about it, before Schwartz got his one at Sonoma earlier this year, his best finish was 2nd at Pocono back in 2018 when he finished 2nd to his teammate then, Kyle Busch, his former teammate. So really cool for Daniel Schwartz to get a nice top 5. I mean, he was pretty good in qualifying. He qualified 9th in this race, so he definitely had one of the best cars. But lately, he has been on a hot streak really since the month of July. He finished 3rd at Road America, 6th at Atlanta, 9th last week at New Hampshire, and a 5th place finish here today for him. So really good results for the number 99 team to build up momentum. Even though Chastain would look like he had one of the best cars out there today as well, and he wrecked out, Schwartz was still able to have a good day. Literally, that's an average finish of 6.2 in these last 4 races. So Daniel Schwartz has definitely been on a hot streak. Hopefully it can continue going into the Indy Road Course. So really good result overall for the 99 crew. Finishing 6th was Christopher Bell. Really good result for the 20 team, especially coming off that win at New Hampshire last weekend. That is now, 2 straight top 10 finishes for Christopher Bell. Just trying to build off of that win and trying to increase their momentum going into the playoffs. Hopefully they can keep that up, because I'm not sure. Really, it's hard to say with the playoff grid that we currently have right now of who could actually go out and just do great. I feel like anyone could. It just depends. It just depends on the tracks, how the drivers are, how good they are, just the timing. It's just really weird. But a nice solid finish for Bell and the 20 team. Let's see what they can do at the Indy Road Course. Finishing in P7 was Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, I already mentioned him before. He took the lead away from Kyle Busch early in the race when Kyle Busch kind of messed up in that first restart and he went up the track. Larson took the lead, basically just whooped the field, won stage 1. Luckily, he didn't blow a tire, so just got to make sure of that. And also, he got Cliff Daniels back this week, so really cool for Larson to have Cliff Daniels back going into these last few races, the last final stretch into the playoffs. But other than that stage when Larson hasn't really been doing that necessarily well for the rest of the race. He was like running like top 15, but he was still trying to build up and get a nice solid top 10 result, in which he did. So solid 7th place finish. You can't argue with that for Kyle Larson after he started, like 4th today. So a decent result for the 5 team overall. Finishing in 8th was Michael McDowell. I was really shocked to see Michael McDowell running in the top 10. I was thinking, like, where did he come from? I mean, literally, he had contact with, Corey LaJoie early in this race that made Corey LaJoie come around. And also, glad that Corey LaJoie's teammate Josh Balicki was okay after that hard hit. Just Spire Motorsports has been wrecking too many cars, especially in, like, these past 2-3 races. But back to McDowell, a nice strong run for them. Literally, they started 25th and somehow get an 8th place finish. So really cool for him, especially since these last couple races haven't really gone his way. He got in that one wreck that Chastain and Truex caused at Atlanta, and then also got caught up in a wreck with Corey LaJoie again and Harrison Burton back in New Hampshire. So when he doesn't get caught up in wrecks, he can actually make some strong top 10, top 15 runs. So solid result for the 34. Finishing in 9th was Martrix Jr. Surprisingly for Truex at Pocono standards, it was a meh race for him. I mean, I know he wasn't really running in the top 10 that much. He was like kind of like on like the borderline of the top 10. He was running like 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, something like that. Truex definitely wasn't at his strongest line. I feel like Truex should do or perform better at Pocono, especially this is the place where he had his career resurgence back in 2015. But I don't know, maybe just Truex is just falling off a little bit, and probably still heartbroken from that New Hampshire race, but it was still a decent race. He qualified 8th, only finished 9th, so that's 2 top 10s in a row, so not bad for Martrix Jr. standards, but I feel like that they could do better. But they did get lucky because Blaney had his incidents and Harvick had that incident late in this race to where Truex increases that 68-point gap coming into this race to now 84 over the cut line. So looking pretty comfortable, but shouldn't stay too comfortable as we're headed to Indy Road Course. And last year's race was a wild one. And finally, rounding out the top 10 was Bubba Wallace. A nice, solid weekend for Bubba Wallace. Finally, a race where I could say Bubba Wallace has done really good 2 weeks in a row. I mean, you have to admit, this is now 2 straight top 10 finishes. Finished 3rd last week in New Hampshire, 10th here today. He qualified 7th. Sucks for Kurt Busch, who tried to qualify but backed into the wall. Apparently he had some concussion-like symptoms, but we'll get into that, and also part of the biggest story of the race. But Bubba Wallace was able to have a nice solid day, finished 10th. Towards the end of the race, he was starting to make up some spots with 10 laps to go, because the rain was coming, so a lot of drivers were making moves trying to get into the top 10, and fortunately he did. So a strong run for Bubba Wallace. It's really good for him to have strong runs in these last couple races when we head to his worst type of track, a road course, next weekend. So we'll see how that will play out, but a nice solid weekend, last 2 weekends for the 23 team. And now let's rate this race. I was kind of hyped looking forward to Pocono because we're bringing the next gen car. We don't know exactly what to expect, and not gonna lie, this race kind of reminded me of last year's race, the second Pocono race, where it came down to strategy in the end, but this time we had cautions late in this year's race. So it was still a solid race for Pocono standards. It wasn't terrible. I wasn't really bored or something. It was just it was good and stuff. I would say it's a little above average, but it was a decently good race. So if I had to rate this one, would I say it was better than New Hampshire? It's kind of dead even in my opinion, but I'll give this race I'll give it an 8.1 out of 10. I mean, it was a solid race for Pocono standards and stuff. I'm glad that this track only has one race and stuff for fans to come out for that one weekend, but it was a solid race for Pocono standards. Decent racing and stuff. Strategic racing isn't something that I'm typically used to, but I'm starting to get used to it. I'm starting to really fall for it and stuff. So it was a really cool race to see, and yeah, 8.1 out of 10. Let me know what you guys would give it in the comment section below. So in today's biggest story of the race, we're going to be talking about the incident between Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain coming out of this one. So basically, as the drivers were exiting turn 1 off the late race restart, Chastain was a bit up on the racetrack. Hamlin was starting to close the gap a little bit, wasn't leaving him that much room. Chastain could have lifted out of it, but he really didn't, and then they made contact. Chastain hit the wall. He spun out in front of the field. And unfortunately, he collected Kevin Harvick, and it did suck for Harvick because Blaney was out of the race and Truex wasn't really doing that well until later in the race, and so Harvick could have had a gain on the cut line, but unfortunately he didn't. He lost like 14 points, and Blaney only gained like 1 off the cut line. But anyway, back to the incident. Was this justified? I believe so. The only thing I don't like about this wreck is that Harvick was the innocent bystander who got caught up in this wreck, and I was surprised Hamlin was gonna actually have retaliation on Chastain now. I thought he would do it where it mattered more, like probably in the playoff run, but I guess it didn't matter more in this one because Chastain had a shot of winning after he beat Kyle Busch off of pit road. He had a faster pit stop by like 3 seconds, and then Chastain was being hunted down by Denny Hamlin late in that race before that one caution came out for the Blaney incident. So I think it was justified for what Hamlin did. I think the score should be settled right now. Chastain even said in his post-race interview when asked by Parker Kligerman that he's been waiting for this for like the last couple months, like since early June, about the retaliation from Hamlin, and it finally happened. So the score should be settled. And then Kligerman asked him the same question. Chastain didn't really say anything. He kind of chuckled or laughed or something. He just didn't know what to say. I think it's better to be asking Denny Hamlin, is the score settled? And it should be between those two. Even though Chastain wrecked him twice, it should be good. So hopefully there's no more confrontation between these two drivers for the rest of the season, unless someone makes a dumb mistake, Chastain. But there shouldn't be any confrontation. So that's my judgment on the thing. I thought it was 100% justified. Heck, some of the crowd even booed Denny Hamlin after what he said or what he was asked about the Chastain incident late in the race. And he even said like Hamlin said like, oh, I hear more cheers than boos, and I'm like, no, it's kind of dead even on cheers and boos. So love and hate relationship of Pocono Raceway fans for Denny Hamlin. But that's what I have to say about the incident. Also, I want to give a nice little shout out to Ty Gibbs for making his Cup Series debut and getting a nice solid top 20 finish. So really cool for him. It was a bit of a last minute decision because Kurt Busch was injured, apparently, just a little concussion-like symptom after that big hit he took when he backed into the wall in Pocono qualifying. So that was a bit of a safety concern right there. So we just have to make sure the next gen car is just... NASCAR has to make an improvement on the safety, just plain as day. I mean, I know NASCAR had to make some adjustments on the safety with the Gen 6 car when it's in its first year, when Denny Hamlin broke his leg and stuff. So we just have to make some adjustments right there. Hopefully we can make them, because we do not want any other drivers to get hit, but to get hurt. And we've also heard it like earlier this year, like Bubba Wallace, when he took that big hit in Talladega. Maybe it wasn't just the next gen car itself, but probably just like the speed of the big of an impact it was into the wall. But even William Byron said at one point that he actually like kind of felt like a bit of a headache after one of his crashes. So the next gen car is something that NASCAR has to adjust and fix on. So hopefully they can adjust the safety as the year goes on and going into next year. And also just turn 3 in Pocono, guys, it's had its problems. Like think back 2015 where Casey Kane had that big incident. And also this somewhat reminiscent of like Auto Club, because Auto Club is another track where one of its turns has a bit of an issue. Like Chastain literally took a big hit into turn 4 in Auto Club earlier this year, and another driver spun out off of turn 4, like Busch, Byron, Elliott, and stuff. So it's kind of normal, but hopefully Ryan Blaney and Kurt Busch are okay after their wrecks this weekend, and hopefully we could just see some improvements on the next gen car moving forward. Now for our drivers of the day. At unlucky driver of the day, I have to give it to Kevin Harvick. I feel so bad for him. Literally, he didn't really start off that hot. Like, he was really loose in turn 3 1 point earlier in this race, and then they made adjustments. He was running in the top 5 at one point. I believe he was running in the top 10 where Chastain got into him. So just some misfortune for Kevin Harvick. And like I said earlier, that's the one thing I didn't like about Hamlin's incident with Chastain trying to get retaliation because it involved an innocent bystander who didn't deserve it. So it does suck for Kevin Harvick, because also it looked like he would have had a really good points day to gain on the cut line, because Blaney had his issue that day, and Truex wasn't really that good, but he was still pretty decent, and Harvick, and that's the number 1 driver Harvick's trying to gain on. But instead that goes from a 68 point gap to now 84, since Harvick finished below 25th. I think he finished like 26th, so that does suck for the 14. For comeback driver of the day, I have Denny Hamlin. Literally, this guy spun out early in this race. Also, he tagged the wall literally on the first lap, and he comes back to win this one. I mean, I know that's not pretty significant, because it's a 160 lap race, so of course he can come back from that, but it's just really cool for Denny Hamlin because we've had other fast drivers like a Chase Elliott and like a Chastain and a Kyle Busch, and he was able to beat those guys. So really cool for Denny Hamlin in the 11 team. For Underdog Driver of the Day, it's Michael McDowell. Literally surprised me. Started 25th. Somehow he finishes 8th. I wasn't really paying attention to him, but he finishes in the top 10. So I just want to give him an Underdog Driver shout out. Just a really solid top 10 finish for 3014 for front row. And even though he didn't win, Driver of the Day goes to Kyle Busch. He was literally one of the best drivers all day long. Best Toyota, hands down. Just things didn't really go his way, but he was still able to have a nice solid run. Third time he's finished second place this season. Second time it's been to his own teammate Denny Hamlin. So we'll see if Kyle Busch can make some adjustments going into the Indy road course, because even though he wrecked there last year, he should still have a pretty decent race. And we're also headed to a couple other tracks that Kyle Busch has been relatively successful on. So here are the playoff standings coming out of Pocono and going into the Indy road course next week. So we have Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin both with 3 wins. Then we have Chastain, Byron, and Logano all with 2. Then we have the drivers with 1 win going from Larson, Kyle Busch, Schwartz, Tyler Reddick, Kurt Busch, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Austin Cindric, and Christopher Bell. Then we have Blaney in 15th plus 106 over the cut line, and then Martrix Jr. in the last position in the playoffs plus 84 over the cut line. You have the cut line right here. Harvick below the cut line minus 84. Almirola minus 137, Jones minus 147, and Austin Dillon minus 203. So basically these guys are in a must-win situation. Harvick can still do it. It's just that today would have been a really good day until that incident with Chastain happened. So we'll see if Blaney or Truex are still going to struggle. Maybe Blaney struggles at the Indy road course. Truex hasn't really been good on the road courses. Harvick has, so Harvick really needs to take advantage of next weekend at the Indy road course. But that's going to do it for today. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. If you guys want to check out my Instagram or my gaming channel, link to both of those will be in the description below. Like almost every single Monday, should be uploading a video on my gaming channel tomorrow. So make sure you guys are subscribed down below so you do not miss that. Also, subscribe to this channel. We're really close to 200 subs, just 10 more. So, guys, let's keep the viewership going and the sub count going. I do really appreciate you guys who do tune in. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. I should have a video up this Wednesday. It's for the truck series because their playoffs is about to start at IRP this weekend, so should be fun, a lot of fun. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. This is NASCAR Mobile 48. Peace out.